Thank you so much for coming, all the panelists on a Saturday. Thank you to everyone else for making it for a very, very dense discussion. We'll try to keep it light and relevant. In brief, I actually just wanted to ask each of you, have you guys personally used any of the AI tools available now? We can start with Roshan. What was your sense when you, like, for personal use, I meant?
I have. I pitched a lot of things which have used a combination of Midjourney and ChatGPT. But apart from ChatGPT, I now find that Perplexity is as a tool and Claude as a tool are, actually I find Claude to be much better. The best part is if you actually have 3 windows open and you take a query of one and put it in the other and see how they come out with stuff, it's great fun. So I've done a bit of that. I haven't got access to Runway, but Prateek Arora, a very dear friend of mine and somebody who's doing a lot of generative
He's been recently releasing stuff.
He's doing some amazing stuff with it. And he keeps telling me about how wonderful it is. I find DALL-E's work not that good as compared to Midjourney, honestly. And you know, if you once you start working on it, and if there's a problem you have and you go to YouTube, everybody's putting up tutorials on a daily basis of how to solve it. So the best part is the community is extremely helpful. So I have, yes, and I find it very helpful.
Amazing. Bobby?
Yeah, I think I'll have to say yes as well. I don't know anybody who hasn't, but extensively used ChatGPT from the early days, actually, since they launched, and their various versions. But agree with Roshan. I think Claude is a lot better with its outputs. Although ChatGPT, if the prompts are better, it does tend to give better outputs. Claude gives some nice suggestions at the end of everything that they do, so that's helpful. Suno, which is the music one, I've been toying with for a while.
How's it been like as a musician and like what was your experience?
Well, honestly, I wouldn't call myself a working musician at this point in time, at least. So it's more from a perspective of curiosity. So in terms of, you know, what is the potential output that could come, because having worked with musicians and being one for a better part of my life, it's very intriguing to see how the processes are literally kind of, you know, quicker than a blink of an eye when you're looking at, you know, creation, development, writing of lyrics, you know, doing recordings, mastering, and giving you an output of something at an idea phase, which would otherwise take weeks, months sometimes even to put together. So there is an element of curiosity. The outputs I'm not very impressed with. Again, they are fun. Could they be used, and you know, actually look at monetizing some of these? Having said that, with the quality of music content nowadays, sometimes that's questionable as well. But yeah, I think from a curiosity perspective,
it's been great to experiment.
It's been great to experiment and just, I think, give yourself a kick in terms of being like, wow, this was pretty cool.
I mean, yeah, I've worked on, I've used generative AI and AI. I think it's important to know your enemy. So I, you know, sort of dabbled with it. I think it's more problematic than, you know, beneficial, I think, at this moment. But I have tried ChatGPT, Midjourney, DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, just to see what they're doing, just to see what their sort of capacity is and their capabilities are at this point. But as I'm doing it, I'm very aware that I'm also being mined at the same time, that my input is also being used as...
You're one of the good ones that's mindful about what you're kind of putting in. That's so great. Neil?
I'm a little embarrassed to admit that I first used ChatGPT to generate a CV for myself. Because I'd just seen a reel and I found it exciting, because when I was at the age where I had to write my own CVs, I was awful at it. I thought that this is the best case use for Gen AI. There aren't enough CV writers out there professionally, if any. And then I used it, and then I was disappointed a second time because I was able to take stock of my professional life. That was my beginning. That was the beginning of my use with Gen AI. But I've dabbled in Midjourney with a couple of others, but like some of us are saying, it's been very disappointing. It's been close to handing off crayons to a child, and not a particularly gifted child. So the outputs have been less than ideal. Of course, I think there are many, many challenges ahead of us when it comes to Gen AI and AI in general. The tech itself is miraculous.
Right.
The fact that in 4 or 5 short years, we've come this far is...
It's getting hands right now.
Yeah, it's getting
can
hands
make
right
good
right
hands
now.
now,
It's
proper
beginning to get them right.
hands right. Kanesh, you mentioned that you were using some
I
technologies
use, so
even
I'm,
before.
I'm a literary agent, and on any given day, I receive lots of manuscripts, partials, full manuscripts, some are, works by well-known writers. So, and I also work with a team of human editors. I never use ChatGPT to generate primary or first feedback. That is something that ChatGPT is not good at. But what I do is, so for instance, if I receive a manuscript and I decide that it has enough merit for me to pass it on to an editor on my team, and they give me feedback. Now, their correspondence is with me. It's internal. But then I use ChatGPT to convert that into a feedback for the author,
Right.
So it's like in that regard, ChatGPT is quite good for official communication, correspondence. Also, sometimes the feedback that you get from editors is unstructured. So you can always request ChatGPT to give it a structure. But the problem arises when you expect ChatGPT to edit, or even critique a set of chapters or a manuscript. I think it's quite bad at it, and it's also it's ChatGPT like a bad student. Does not learn from mistakes. So half the time I'm giving them prompts, if I generate a mail, and I've also, the funniest prompt that I gave ChatGPT was, can you stop using ChatGPT language like delve and additionally? So it's good for correspondence, it's good for things which do not require too much creativity, but I use it for my communication. It's quite good.
Kanishk, every time I say to Kanishk that, publishing is one of the most affected industries with this technology, he's like, no, it's not. It's just not.
So you have to understand the difference between
Right.
Indian publishing and American publishing. And I would...
If you can talk a bit about
so
that.
Indian publishing is very scattered. Unlike the US, UK, we don't have, association of authors, representatives. We don't have an association of editors, Agents are charging different commissions. One of them is charging 10%, someone is charging 15%. And the authors are grappling with issues which are way more severe than, AI or the use of AI, because, there are issues with payments, there are issues with so many other things. So because there is no nodal body association, it's very difficult to, bring about lawsuits the way that have come about in the US.
Right.
In India, we don't have any of that right now. And
this is something that actually I want to ask all of you and also you.
and
that
I don't even think that AI has impacted Indian publishing in a big way, because,
Right.
there have been no layoffs. There is a very major publishing house in India who has started using an AI assistant, but he or she has refused to disclose details because of the company policy that
Still
they
figuring
are
it
using,
out,
they are
huh?
using, and they have an editorial assistant, AI editorial assistant.
Right.
And also we have to distinguish between literary writing and commercial writing. So literary writers are very condescending towards AI. They are very dismissive of AI. They feel that, unique expression, cannot be taught and cannot be, learned by AI. A lot of literary writing also happens from the subconscious, I feel. That I work with a lot of writers who, literary writers who tell me, they've started working on something, but they don't know whether it's going to end up becoming a novel or a novella sometimes. So sometimes you begin with the idea of writing something not knowing what the end is, and that is something that AI cannot do.
And that's something that artists talk about, that's the process, that's what you
And
enjoy
also when you talk
not
about
knowing exactly what you're
editing,
doing.
proofreading is fine. Even some copy editing is fine, but the real editors in the country, in the English language ecosystem, because I'm primarily dealing with English publishers, and there are only 2 or 3 left, to be honest, they sit down with authors, they have conversations. Sometimes, and translations are big these days, because of JCB Prize and many other prizes who are focused on, discovering new translations from Indian languages into English. Sometimes the authors who have written in Malayalam, Hindi, Tamil, they are open to making changes in the original text, so that the readership in English, they get some of the nuances. That is something that a AI app cannot do.
So actually, this point about how the SAG-AFTRA strikes actually were they did come up with quite concrete solutions for the whole thing. It did seem to have helped, and this is something I spoke about separately with all of you. And the sense I got was that that's not a very real possibility in India, in terms of this collective action being taken and the existing unions really doing anything concrete about it. Roshan, could you speak about so meanwhile, what is it that we can do while the laws are kind of still developing? There's a lot of uncertainty because of the reasons, not just because of copyright laws, but because people don't know how yet to even negotiate these terms yet. What is it that you propose then in that case?
So I think three broad things. One is the fact that I think you can actually see. I mean, what is the event industry's issue with IPRS and PPL all the time?
Yeah,
we've always been fighting this battle with these copyright things because whenever an event happens, these people come to collect money saying this is so and so's right. Everyone is okay to pay as long as the disbursement is correct at the end. Our problem is with the lack of disbursement and the lack of standardization. Now, if you can use technology to somehow track, like, when crypto started and they said blockchain will happen, honestly, one of our biggest things was, will blockchain solve this for us so that we can actually distribute legitimately the amount of money that is owed to people? The problem,
and it could, it technically could.
It absolutely could. Similarly, today, a lot of times, I'm going to say something which might be considered blasphemy, but a lot of R.D. Burman's music is, bossa nova and stuff which he has heard from the West Indies. It's if you hear them, aap original gana suniye, wo suniye, you can make out it's a copy. Now the point is, you'll not copy it, you'll say it's an inspiration, you'll say it was whatever. The same when it happens in today's day and age, because information is available, people are able to call it out immediately. Oh, Pritam got this from here, Anu Malik got this from here, so-and-so got this from here, etc. Right. All these names come up. But now there are people who are using technology to actually discover this. So there will always be somebody using tech in a positive manner to actually help people. So one part is this. So I don't think that it's all bad at one level. The second is that, unionizing what we do, like a SAG-AFTRA in India kind of existence. The problem is, you go to shoot in Film City, there are 10 unions who will come to take money from you. None of them have actual artists in them. Right? They're all politically controlled.
Quite disruptive.
So why can we not have a pure artist-led body is a problem that I've been talking about for years at end. Saying that give us a pure artist-led body and people will come on board.
While the laws are still deciding whether or not that's legal or not, as a creative industry, let's acknowledge that, these technologies work on our existing work. Let's not be confused about that. And in that sense, actually, Pooja and Neil, if you guys can talk a bit about, as filmmakers, and this is something I want to ask everyone actually, do you anticipate that there is going to be a change in what we value now in terms of, a resulting work, a human-created work versus computer-generated work, considering that, the technology works on existing work, that it's not coming up with it on its own yet?
I mean, we should be talking about policy and we should be talking about concrete material things that we can do to help artists. But I would say that before we arrive at that juncture, we're facing a huge pedagogical challenge, which is that people don't have, I'm saying regular people, don't have a fervor for the arts that they may have for other things. We've seen in recent times a great sort of outsized celebration of other vocations of IAS and engineering, and every year there are mammoth IPs that are put out into the world that celebrate hard work that is tantamount to pornography.
You mean like all the television shows that are based on Kota and all of that?
Kota Factory and many IAS related media that's out there. There is a palpable sense that this is a worthwhile field to get into. If you do IAS somehow, magically you will enjoy a reputation and you will enjoy a kind of life that few are able to enjoy. We've never seen in recent time that kind of an effort to romanticize the arts. Silicon Valley, and I'm using that as a catch-all term for all tech thinking, is too eager to look at the creation of art as a problem that needs to be solved. I am extremely suspicious of people who have the resources and who have the rights as well. When our scripts, and anybody who writes scripts, there is surrendering IP to the platform. Those scripts float around in the ether. Anybody, any executive can plug them out of the sky, hand them off to another executives, and I believe they all hang out together in a cabal.
So from a music perspective, I've seen a huge shift culturally, which has therefore also caused a huge shift commercially, and the commerce has therefore grown. The addressing of the other side, which is, okay, I am the artist and therefore where is my recognition, where is my compensation, gets therefore decided by the industry bodies.
Right.
Now, why are there no unions? Why are there no industry bodies like what Roshan was validly mentioning over here? There is no intent for somebody to come together because the amount of supply that is there is continuous and overpowering. I mean, you can continue to go to the market for unlimited amount of supply. And the demand in India is always going to be growing at the level that it is currently growing.
Right.
So what was there a decade ago is a little bit more today and therefore will be a little bit more. But keeping in mind cultural shifts. So
Right.
what may have been rock music a decade ago, today is singer-songwriter genre.
Right.
And in 5 years, that could probably change. It is definitely growing. Now, I think till that supply is, and that's a problem specific to India, right? The supply is, like they are saying that if you don't have a script, theek hai, there are 10 people waiting in line.
Yeah.
You know, if you take your song and go to a label and they're like, yeah, but what's your digital following? How many likes do you have? Similar to the question of, you know, if you've got that kind of... So I think the industry functions primarily based on commerce. And the other side to it, whether it is recognition and all, is kind of, I mean, you look at it in contracts.
Yeah.
Credit is something that will be decided by us.